going to attempt to explain the way I see things as simply as possible, trying to use very few words. When I first started this research, and I know I don't want to get into all that, but I do want to say that I was studying language and that I had originally intended to study Hebrew in order to understand the Bible. That led me to wonder what was older, and I found Paleo-Hebrew. That led me to the other languages, but during that same time, I had a ketamine treatment because I was depressed from a lot of different things. And during that treatment, I had a visual experience with Sumeria. And I saw Sumeria and all the people. Well, when I started doing this research, the earliest language was cuneiform, and from Sumeria, Mesopotamia. Well, naturally, I started studying that, but at the same time, I had been really looking for some information and found Doug Vaught. Doug was a Jewish man. Great history, incredible. He's obviously a genius, that's a given. But he wrote a number of books and spent his lifetime trying to uncover the secret of history. He wanted to find the Ark. I'm trying to remember his original intent, I believe, was just to verify the Old Testament. At any rate, I'm still hoping to interview him. So we'll find out, hopefully. I took him to lunch and I was so awestruck, I didn't think of good interview questions at all. Okay, so I found Doug's work. Now, Doug basically was telling me just what I had thought. If you're the last person alive and you want to leave the code for humanity, or your DNA, or the code, then you're going to do that in some way. How are you going to do it? You're going to hide it. Well, thank God they did their writing in stone, because we have it. I don't know what they'll do. Well, I guess they'll have to be able to read. Well, I'm not going to get into that. Okay. So the numbers. Okay. So when Doug went looking, he found Mount Sinai. There, he found the code. You can read the book. I can be more explicit in other videos, but for now, I just want to say that when I saw his code, it all connected for me. First of all, it was the 22 letters of the Tree of Life. 32 letters, 22 letters, 3 mothers, 7 doubles, and 10 elements. That's what Moses got. That was the whole purpose of the Bible, was to transfer that code of humanity. Now, if you look at that code, they're vectors. Vectors are lines, basically, with shape and form. Now, this made sense to me from being in 7th grade data processing, when we put holes in cards and told these big machines to spin spit out something that looked like what we wanted, and it did. And that stuck with me, that there were hole punches. And so when I saw the vectors, then I started learning about toroidals and the shape, the donut shape, and yet it can bend, and kind of like one of the balloons that they make an animal with, but there's no end. It's all connected like a donut, but the shape is flexible, and the shape contains sound and resonance, vibration of its own. So that connected. I got that. I got it. And I kept thinking, okay, so those letters, that's us. So those letters do have power. So we are those letters. We are a name. We carry that. Everything, all that energy in that letter we carry around. We are it. We're a combination of those letters that have been spoken into us, that we've been called. And so we carry all that. You get it? And all that is synergistic to produce a product or an energy or a vibration. But we have control over it by premonition, by spirit. How do I know it? Well, one way I know it is because of this experiment that I found where they put girls in two different rooms, and one was supposed to pretend, just imagine their muscles moving, and the others did nothing. And they wired them up so they knew whether what they did or didn't do. And it was very controlled. The group that imagined that their muscles got bigger, guess what? Their muscles got bigger. That never left me. I hung on to that. So, do you see what I'm saying? Now, here are the things that come to me. Number one, all these toroidals. Oh, one more thing. When I was a little girl, I had recurrent nightmares. You couldn't really call them nightmare because I didn't know what they were, but they really just kept me wondering, what are they? But they were like donut circles that were getting bigger and bigger and pushing each other out, and it was like a room of bubbles, and they were all trying to make room for each other, and I kept thinking they were getting too crowded and I needed to do something. But I never understood that. I think that might have something to do with this. Okay, so then I got to thinking, okay, so if we have been speaking the New Testament, and we know that it's a satire and a joke on humanity, have we been speaking evil by virtue of the energy that was originally spent in those words? I mean, do the letters contain the original intent, or do they contain otherwise? How can they not contain anything but the original content? And if they do, then have we prayed James knowing that it's gross and a lie? Are we multiplying lies by virtue of us being sheep because we don't care enough to find out the truth of the letters? And shouldn't we know better that you can't divide science and math and spirit, that if God created it, it's got to reconcile? It's got to be one or it's nothing. Do you see what I mean? And so that's something. And then I keep seeing mushrooms and how they web underground, and they are born out of heat and entropy, and they can create whole galaxies that you don't even see. So that's there. And then okay, so all I can see is like the little Russian girls, where there's one Russian girl inside another, and that the whole world is toroidal, and that we're all toroidal song of songs. We're all songs of songs, fitting in a world of songs, carried by a song, supported by a song, in a song, out of a song. So that's where my brain